Have you ever wondered how a message that began with only a handful of believers, surrounded by hostility and constant danger, grew into a faith that reached every corner of the world? What 1,400 years of Islamic history says about the secret spread of Islam in Makkah is not merely the story of hidden meetings or cautious invitations. It is the story of unwavering faith, extraordinary patience, and complete trust in Allah during one of the most challenging periods in human history. After the first revelation descended upon Prophet Muhammad,
Enter, my nephew.
PBUH, in the cave of Hira, the responsibility of conveying the message of Islam began
brings a
with
new
wisdom
era
and
for
careful
our tribe.
planning. The society of Makkah
We must guide
was
our people
deeply
with
rooted
wisdom
in
and
tribal
unity.
traditions,
Indeed,
idol
let us
worship,
begin.
and social customs that had existed for generations. Accepting the belief in one God was not simply a personal decision. It challenged the religious, economic, and social foundations of the Quraysh. Because of these realities, Allah guided his messenger to begin the call privately. This secret phase was not a sign of fear or uncertainty, but a demonstration of divine wisdom, allowing the foundations of faith to become firm before the public proclamation. The Prophet PBUH first shared the message with those closest to him, and the earliest believers accepted Islam with sincere hearts after recognizing the truth of his honesty, character,
The winds are
and
kind today.
trustworthiness.
We are blessed.
Among the first to
Look, I
believe
can
were his
spin it.
noble wife Khadijah,
The bread is ready.
R.A.,
Add the spices
his young
now.
cousin Ali,
Move along,
IB,
friends.
and Abi
The sun is
Talib,
high.
R.A., his close companion Abu Bakr As-Siddiq, R.A., and his freed servant Zayd ibn Harithah, R.A. Each acceptance strengthened the small community, proving that guidance comes from Allah and that true faith often begins quietly before transforming history. Abu Bakr, R.A.,
In the embrace of the
respected
night,
throughout
our
Makkah
stories
for his
take
integrity
flight,
and wisdom,
like stars that guide
invited
us through the
several
endless
trusted
fight.
friends to Islam, leading
Rest
to the
now,
acceptance
for dawn
of
brings
remarkable
new paths to
companions
tread.
whose future sacrifices would
The water
shape
is
the
low,
Muslim
but it will
community for
sustain us.
generations. As the number of
Spices from the
believers
east,
slowly
incense and
increased,
fine leather.
gatherings
The
remained
frankincense
discreet,
is pure,
focused on
fair
learning
trade.
the revealed verses of the Qur'an, strengthening belief, and purifying character. These early Muslims understood that Islam was not merely a collection of rituals, but a complete way of life built upon sincerity, justice, mercy, and submission to the Creator. Every verse revealed during this period nurtured patience, hope, and certainty, preparing the believers for trials that would soon test their faith beyond imagination. Their numbers remained small, yet their conviction continued to grow stronger with every revelation. They found spiritual strength not in wealth, power, or tribal influence, but in the promise that Allah never abandons those who remain steadfast upon the truth. What appeared insignificant to the leaders of Makkah was, in reality, the quiet construction of a community whose moral strength would eventually outlast the mightiest tribes of Arabia. Without armies, political authority, or worldly
people, submit
influence,
to the will of Allah.
these believers
He is the
relied
most merciful,
entirely
the most
upon Allah,
compassionate.
knowing that every
bear
step
witness
taken in
that there is no God
obedience
but Allah,
carried a purpose
and Muhammad
beyond
is
what
his
human
messenger.
eyes could see. This hidden beginning reminds every generation that lasting change often starts with sincere hearts, steadfast belief, and unwavering patience before the world ever recognizes its true significance. As the circle of believers slowly expanded, the quiet spread of Islam entered a stage filled with increasing tension, where every new acceptance of the faith carried the possibility of severe consequences. What 1,400 years of Islamic history says about this remarkable period is that the strength of the early Muslim community was measured not by its numbers, but by the depth of its conviction. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, continued to guide his companions with wisdom, teaching them the revealed verses of the Qur'an while nurturing their character, patience, and complete reliance upon Allah. A significant center of learning emerged in the house of Al-Arqam ibn Abi Al-Arqam, where believers gathered discreetly to worship, reflect upon revelation, and strengthen one another through faith. Away from the eyes of those determined to silence the message, this humble place became a foundation for spiritual growth and disciplined preparation. Every gathering increased their certainty that the truth was worth every sacrifice, even though the dangers surrounding them grew greater with each passing day. The leaders of the Quraysh began to notice that the message they had once dismissed was quietly reaching respected families, young people, merchants, and even those who possessed influence within Makkah. Their concerns steadily turned into determination as they realized that Islam was changing hearts instead of seeking worldly power. This transformation could not be stopped by argument alone because it rested upon sincere belief in the oneness of Allah and the unmatched character of his messenger. Yet the greatest suspense of this hidden chapter was not whether the believers would remain unknown forever, but whether the fragile community could survive before the command for public proclamation arrived. Every new believer represented hope for the future, but every conversion also increased the possibility that the secret would be exposed. The Muslims lived with caution, balancing wisdom with courage, knowing that discovery could bring ridicule, social isolation, economic pressure, or physical persecution. Despite these dangers, their determination never weakened because the Quran continued to strengthen their hearts with reminders of Allah's promise to those who remain patient and steadfast. They learned that true success is not measured by immediate victory, but by unwavering obedience to Allah in every circumstance. History reveals that this quiet period shaped individuals whose faith would later withstand torture, migration, hardship, and the responsibility of carrying Islam beyond Arabia. Their spiritual education during these hidden years prepared them to face trials that ordinary determination alone could never overcome. The apparent silence of the movement concealed extraordinary spiritual development, transforming ordinary men and women into examples of sincerity, sacrifice, and unwavering devotion. The Quraysh could observe outward events, but they could not see the profound changes taking place within the hearts of the believers. That unseen transformation became the greatest strength of the early Muslim community because faith rooted deeply in the heart cannot be removed by threats or worldly pressure. As the number of Muslims continued to increase and confidence in Allah became stronger than fear itself, the moment approached when the message would no longer remain hidden. The command that would change the course of history forever was drawing near, and the believers who had been patiently prepared in secrecy would soon stand before an entire society to proclaim the truth openly, regardless of the consequences that awaited them. The years of quiet preparation eventually reached the moment that Allah had decreed from the very beginning. What 1,400 years of Islamic history says about the secret spread of Islam in Makkah is that every hidden effort, every sincere prayer, every carefully delivered invitation, and every act of patience have been laying the foundation for a mission that would never again remain confined to a small circle of believers. When the command came to proclaim the message openly, the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and his companions were no longer a group of individuals connected only by friendship or family ties. They had become a community united by faith, strengthened by revelation, disciplined through worship, and prepared to face whatever trials lay ahead. Their courage did not appear suddenly on the day the public call began. It had been cultivated during the years of secrecy, when no worldly reward could be expected and when every act of worship was performed solely for the pleasure of Allah. The lessons from this remarkable period continue to inspire believers across every generation because they demonstrate that lasting success begins with sincerity before it becomes visible to the world. The earliest Muslims understood that changing society starts by transforming the human heart, and that true reform cannot be built upon impatience or the pursuit of immediate recognition. Instead, it requires unwavering trust in Allah, steadfast commitment to truth, and a willingness to remain firm even when progress appears slow. History confirms that the small gathering once hidden in Makkah eventually became the foundation of a civilization that carried knowledge, justice, compassion, and the worship of Allah across continents. This extraordinary transformation did not begin with wealth, political influence, or military strength. It began with revelation, sincere belief, righteous character, and complete submission to the guidance of Allah. Every challenge faced during the secret phase became a lesson that prepared the believers for greater responsibilities in the years that followed, including persecution, migration, and the establishment of a united Muslim community. The story reminds every believer that Allah's plan unfolds with perfect wisdom, even when human eyes cannot immediately understand its purpose. Moments of difficulty often become the training ground for future success, while periods of waiting teach patience, humility, and complete dependence upon the Creator. The quiet spread of Islam in Makkah, therefore, remains far more than a historical account. It is a timeless reminder that faith grows through perseverance, that sincere efforts are never lost in the sight of Allah, and that the greatest victories often begin in circumstances that appear insignificant to the world. Every believer who studies this chapter of Islamic history is encouraged to strengthen faith, remain patient during hardship, seek wisdom before action, and trust that Allah's promise is always true. Just as the earliest Muslims remained steadfast despite uncertainty, every generation is called to hold firmly to the Qur'an and the authentic teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, knowing that guidance, honor, and ultimate success belong to those who sincerely worship Allah and remain constant upon His path. Their legacy continues to illuminate hearts more than 14 centuries later, proving that truth established with patience and sincerity can overcome every obstacle by the permission of Allah. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.